They tried to erase you, not just silence you, not just doubt you, not just push you aside. No, they tried to erase you. They whispered your name like it was a mistake. They treated your dreams like they were delusions. They looked at your light and decided the room would be better if it were dark. And maybe, for a moment, you believed them. Maybe there was a night when you sat alone, staring at the ceiling, wondering if disappearing would be easier. Maybe there was a morning when you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the warrior staring back. Maybe you felt small, replaceable, forgotten. They thought that was the end of your story, but what they didn't understand, what they couldn't predict, was that you were never meant to be erased. You were meant to be forged. They expected you to crumble. They expected your confidence to bleed out slowly, like a wound left unattended. They expected you to apologize for taking up space, to shrink your voice, to dim your fire. They expected you to break quietly. They thought the pressure would crush you. They thought isolation would weaken you. They thought betrayal would poison you. They expected you to fold, and in their minds, the script was already written. You would fall. You would doubt yourself. You would fade into the background of their comfort. But here's what they never accounted for. They never accounted for your silence turning into strategy. They never accounted for your pain turning into power. They never imagined that every insult, every rejection, every attempt to erase you would become fuel. They thought you were fragile, but you were observing. They thought you were defeated, but you were transforming. And while they were celebrating your supposed downfall, you were rebuilding in the shadows. There is something about being underestimated that changes you. It's like being thrown into a storm without warning. The winds howl, the rain lashes, the sky roars with thunder. And at first you're shaking. You question yourself. You question your worth. You question whether maybe they were right. But storms do something strange to certain souls. They don't destroy them, they reveal them. You began to see things clearly. You saw who stood with you, and who only stood near you. You saw who clapped when you succeeded, and who smiled when you stumbled. You learned. Pain became your teacher. Loneliness became your training ground. Silence became your weapon. While they were busy trying to erase your name, you were engraving it into your own spirit. Every tear you cried, it washed away illusions. Every betrayal you endured, it sharpened your instincts. Every moment they tried to make you feel invisible, it forced you to see yourself, and that was the beginning of their mistake. Because once you truly see yourself, you become unstoppable. You started building in the dark, not for applause, not for revenge, but for survival. You read more. You trained harder. You spoke less, you listened more, you turned your wounds into wisdom. And slowly, very slowly, you began to glow, not loudly, not arrogantly, but undeniably. And that's when they noticed. At first it was subtle. They saw you walking with a different posture. They heard a steadiness in your voice. They felt a shift in your energy. You weren't asking for permission anymore. You weren't seeking approval. You weren't explaining yourself. Did they really think you'd stay broken? Did they truly believe you would spend your life proving your worth to people who never saw it? They watched you rise, and confusion crept into their eyes. How? They wondered. How did you survive? They thought isolation would destroy you, but isolation introduced you to yourself. They thought rejection would crush you, but rejection redirected you. They thought their silence would suffocate you, but in that silence, you found your own voice. And now the power dynamic had shifted. You weren't reacting anymore. You were responding. You weren't chasing. You were choosing. You weren't begging to belong. You were building your own table. And suddenly they weren't so comfortable, because nothing unsettles insecure people more than someone they tried to erase, becoming undeniable. They began to feel the weight of their own actions, not because you attacked them, not because you exposed them, but because you outgrew them. And growth is loud, even when it's silent. You stopped fighting to be understood. You stopped explaining your boundaries. You stopped shrinking to fit into rooms that were too small for your spirit. Instead, you expanded. You embraced the fire inside you. And here's the truth they'll never admit. They're not upset because you changed. They're upset because you changed without them. You became disciplined. You became focused. You became calm in chaos, like a king standing in the middle of a battlefield unshaken by the noise. The same storms that once terrified you now obey you. The same darkness that once threatened to swallow you now highlights your light. You realized something powerful. Erasure only works on those who forget who they are. And you remembered. You remembered your dreams. You remembered your strength. You remembered the child inside you who once believed in impossible things. And that memory became your crown. Every step you take now carries weight, not arrogance, authority. You don't need to shout. Your presence speaks. You don't need to compete. Your journey is unique. And the more they watch you thrive, the more they feel the sting of their own limitations. But you feel peace, because the ultimate revenge is not destruction. It's indifference. It's mastery. It's waking up each day aligned with your purpose while they remain trapped in the same patterns. You became the storm they tried to avoid, and now you are the calm after it. Look at you, still here, still standing, still breathing, still building. They tried to erase you, but you became permanent. They tried to silence you, but your actions echo louder than words. They tried to break you, but you became unbreakable. And here's the most powerful part. You didn't rise to prove them wrong. You rose because you remembered who you are. You are not their opinion. You are not their rejection. You are not the version of you they tried to reduce. You are evolution. You are resilience. You are fire that learned how to control itself. You no longer chase validation. You validate yourself. You no longer fear abandonment. You trust your own company. You no longer beg for recognition. You recognize your own value. And that shift, that internal revolution, is something they can never touch, because now, even if the world goes silent, you will not disappear. Even if doors close, you will build your own entrance. Even if they try again, you will smile, because you understand something they never will. You were never meant to be erased. You were meant to be remembered. So let them talk, let them doubt, let them replay the old version of you in their minds. You have outgrown that chapter. You are no longer fighting for space. You are space. You are no longer asking to be seen. You are seen. You are no longer afraid of being alone. You are whole. And in that wholeness, there is power. Quiet power, unshakable power, the kind of power that doesn't need revenge, the kind of power that doesn't need applause, the kind of power that simply exists confidently, peacefully, permanently. They tried to erase you, but all they did was introduce you to your strength. All they did was awaken the warrior inside you. All they did was push you into becoming the person you were always meant to be. So stand tall, walk forward.